Man, this family-friendly version of They Live is much tamer than I thought it would be. Although I should say, maybe not as tame as some of the parents in the audience thought. I gotta say, there was a family behind me, this mother and her two kids, and there were some jokes she was not very happy with. The kids loved them, but the mother was definitely like, "What'd he say?" Just was not having several of these jokes. So just a heads up, if you think this is like a PG movie or it's Fox Disney movie now because Disney owns Fox, there are a few jokes that will definitely get the kids going, and maybe some parents will not be amused. So it earns its PG-13. But with that said, I just saw Free Guy, and I mean, the fast version of it is this is a perfectly fine comedy. It's an interesting premise, actually. If you don't know, this is a non-playable character who has the ability to suddenly, out of nowhere, have consciousness. He's suddenly like, well, wait, why am I doing the same thing over and over and over? And he decides to interact a little bit more with the actual players that come in, and he slowly becomes aware that he's, an NPC, and because of that, these developers, these people who designed this game, they came up with the coding, but it kind of got stolen because that's always what happens in these movies. It's Tron all over again. They're trying to figure out how to find the code and prove that this guy stole it from them and essentially stole their idea. And of course, this guy that Ryan Reynolds plays is kind of the answer. And of course, there's a little bit of a romance that forms between him and one of the designers that's trying to get the truth. And there's a lot of jokes about gaming. There's a lot of Twitch streamers in there and gamers from YouTube that make cameos as well. And so in terms of laughs, it's written okay in terms of jokes. There's some that work, and then others where you're like, okay, can we get to more of the funny stuff? But the main reason this works really is Ryan Reynolds. I get a feeling if this was made like 15 years ago, they would have gotten Will Ferrell to play the part. He kind of has that vibe, or, if it was a little earlier, maybe it'd be Jim Carrey, someone like that. So he is kind of channeling like those two, but it is still distinctly him. And a lot of the lines written in here that I think to myself, well, if I was to read that, it wouldn't make me laugh. He makes them work, and he has this real charming benignness to him where he's just so happy with everything, and even when he's discovering all this new stuff, he cheerfully discovers it. Even if he's really afraid, he tries to be really friendly. It's kind of like if Ned Flanders suddenly woke up in Grand Theft Auto, or like a mix between Grand Theft Auto and Fortnite. With that said, if you're a gamer, like I'm not, I'm a little bit of a gamer now, I'm getting a little bit more back into it, but I definitely wouldn't call myself, like, oh yeah, I game all the time. It's like, no, I do stuff on Twitch, like I'll do Kingdom Hearts, obviously, and on Tournament Tuesdays we'll try different games and so forth, but I know enough that some of the jokes in here and the way the game is designed, either they could have made more clever jokes, or some of the stuff just doesn't check out. I feel like if you're a programmer, you're probably gonna watch this and be like, oh my god, what the hell are they talking about with some of the lingo and some of the things they have set up. But I will say, I think for someone that's coming into this not knowing a ton about coding or programming, some of the ideas, I say to myself, okay, like I can follow that, and I can actually acknowledge some of this as clever. Like there's a whole other game that's essentially erased or sort of, given a new skin in a sense. And that's what these developers are trying to prove. And one of the ways they discover that it's still in there is that's in the reflection of these blinds. They see the old game in there. And they say, okay, well, so he got rid of everything except the reflections. The reflections he forgot to scrub out. Or those didn't delete for whatever reason, like it was a glitch or something. And that's something where it's like, okay, I'm not a programmer. I'm sure there's a bunch of technical reasons why that couldn't be, but it sounds legit. It sounds legit enough. But then there's things like the shops. in this world. You sort of see, like, it looks like a city. It just looks like an everyday average city, but they'll have things like, a store will just say, like, items or something like that, like, instead of Walmart or Walgreens or something. And I'm thinking to myself, nah, if they're gonna make it look this real, it would say something like store. Wouldn't say items. Like little things like that do add up a little bit, but they're not super distracting. But if you're looking for something that's gonna be like, wow, just totally understanding the world and the in-jokes and stuff, it has a little bit of that, but I don't think enough where your mind would be blown and be like, yeah, this was written by video game fans and they know all the lingo, they know everything. It's not quite that, but it's not Wreck-It Ralph 2 either, where it's like, hey, we just say these things and it's funny. It's like, no, they do have more of an understanding of the gaming world. With that said as well, I feel like this was originally written as an R. Not in the sense that I think they edited it down, like whatever, a rated R horror film suddenly made PG-13, where there were obviously bloody deaths here, but then they just chopped them up, so it's like, okay, now there's just someone getting hit in the head and it cuts away. Like, it doesn't feel like that, but it does have a feel like whoever wrote this originally wanted this to be like a good, mean, cynical, bloody movie that was suddenly given a little bit more of the Disney treatment. Maybe since, they bought Fox, but I could be totally wrong too, though there are definitely some Disney nods that are a little annoying in this. So it's funny because there's cameos from streamers, like I said, in this, and they're building up one joke at the end. This guy called the Dude. This is gonna be Guy, who's the name of the main character. It's gonna be Guy's arch nemesis. I'm just telling you right now, it's not who you think it is. It eventually gets a little funny with what they do with it, but it's like, it's not who you think it's gonna be. They're building it up. You think it's gonna be this one cameo who's gonna go up against Ryan Reynolds, his arch nemesis, and they don't. And you know who I'm talking about. But with that said, there is another cameo in this that has to tie in with him getting a prop near the end. That did make me really laugh hard. Honestly, it was probably the only cameo that really made me, kind of bust a gut laughing. But then it was followed by a really lame Star Wars joke, because again, it's Disney, and so that kind of stuff gets in the way. But that's kind of what it's like. You'll have something that's legit really funny, and Ryan Reynolds is working great with it, and the other actors are working great with it too. And then it'll just kind of fall back into standard or a little lame. But it always bounces back just enough. It still is fun. Even though it does go on a little bit at the end, there's a few too many times where they look like the bad guys have stopped them and then they find a way around it, but then the bad guys are looking for another way. Like, you always think, oh, that's the topper. That's going to be the thing, and now they're going to get to the end. They're going to get to their reward and everything. But no, the bad guys always have one extra thing, and it does add up a little too much at the end. But it's not to a point where it was unpleasant or I was just going, oh my god, this is awful. It's just, it's just kind of dull after a while. But really what pulls it through is the idea, which is creative. And I love that it isn't just, he wakes up, the character just out of nowhere is aware, oh, it's a glitch. No, there is a reason, and there is kind of a long, complicated reason that, again, I'm sure if you're a programmer, you'd be like, no, that doesn't make any sense, but, someone like me that games a little bit can hear this and say, all right, like, I'm following that. That's kind of an interesting idea, and they break down more and more why he's suddenly aware, and it leads to kind of this nice romance. In a sense, it's a little weird. Without going into spoilers, there's kind of two romances going on in this movie, and I'm curious to see if people by the end are going to say, yes, that makes sense. This was a romantic movie. If they're going to say, well, wait, it's two people that are in love with this person, though, isn't it? Or is it? So I thought it was kind of clever, though I wish it was just a little bit more cynical. I wish it was a little meaner. Like I said, I think there's a first draft of this movie that's just really harsh and like super, super mean. And somebody came in and said, let's make it a little bit more of a rom-com. Let's make it nice. But with that said, it is a game that's designed where everyone playing is supposed to be awful. They're supposed to beat up all the extras in the game pretty much. They're supposed to rob everything. Like I said, it's supposed to be kind of like Grand Theft Auto. And guy in the movie tries to be nice and he tries to help people out, and people are just so blown away by that somebody would actually want to do nice stuff in the game. And again, if you know gaming, you know there's gonna be plenty of people that do that in games, even if the majority are there just to, beat the shit out of everyone. But it's still something where it's kind of a funny commentary how everybody always wants to do that in a game, obviously, and everyone's just so shocked here. Someone that doesn't want to do that actually wants to not rob a bank, but like put money in the bank and give it to the poor and stuff like that and help others out. So that's kind of funny. So overall, I think it's all right. I think if you're really looking for good gaming satire, it's not exactly gonna be that, but it's gonna be a cute little adventure with just a hint of an edge. To me, I wanted much more of an edge. I wanted a lot more meanness to it, and I did want more commentary. But what we got, I think, is fine. So hopefully that gives you an idea whether or not this is the movie for you, if you're looking for something that's a little lighter, but not completely dumb either. I think this is a good enough middle of the road. I was satisfied. I got enough laughs. The kids behind me were laughing up a storm and loved all the references as well. And the parents appropriately were like, at some of the more adult jokes. So again, it's not like there was no edge to it at all. Just the sick bastard in me, especially with the gaming community, really wants it to go even further, and just what you can do with gaming and how games can be a commentary on ourselves as well, and what entertains us. And it is there in little drops. Just for me, I feel like this could have been like a great movie that really could have said something kind of mind-blowing about like ourselves and, just why we play the games we do. But it turns out to be a cute little rom-com. So that's about it. If you saw this movie, let me know what you think. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you feel it had good enough commentary, this was really, really clever, or did you feel, it was just a little too light? Let me know, and I will see you next time. Take care.